reports of strange creatures in the area.
Witnesses say they couldn't believe what they were seeing.
Welcome, beloved fofers, doubters, naysayers, non-believers, and skeptics. Welcome to Paranormal Fable or Fact. I am Victor Trevino, joined by my co-host and beautiful wife, Tammy.
We are humble guides to tales of alleged hoaxes, unbelievable stories, and the overall strange.
Perfect. If you want your story to be on the show, send us an email at pfableorfact@proton.me. The rules for debunkers are in the show notes. Like, give us a good review, hit the notification bell, and subscribe. It's the easiest way to support us, other than buying us a beer. As always, our appreciation goes out to our veterans, our troops, and our first responders. God be with you and yours. So the intro. This is from CBS News. 2 men are on trial in Zambia on charges of practicing witchcraft and possessing charms intending to harm the country's president. In a case that has become a source of fascination in the South African nation, some believe it is just a political stunt to smear opposing characters. One column in the Lusaka Times newspaper actually asked sarcastically, will the court allow witch doctors and other alleged witches to testify as expert witnesses? But police say the men in the current case were arrested in a hotel room in the capital Lusaka in December after a cleaner reported hearing strange noises. The 2 suspects were found in possession of a bottled chameleon. Let me say that again. They were found in possession of a bottled chameleon and other items, including a mysterious white powder, a strange red cloth, and an unidentified severed animal's tail. The men are also facing charges of cruelty to animals, obviously. Many traditional beliefs have survived in Zambia alongside its official Christian religion. A study by the Zambian Law Development Commission, which has a mandate to reform laws, found that as of 2018, 79% of Zambians believe in the existence of witchcraft. The arrests of these 2 men charged with witchcraft occurred in December 2024.
Oh, wow.
So we're not talking about the 1700s.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say, in 1802.
No, we're talking just a couple of years ago. So let's move on to the gist/goals. This show is called Wicked Witch. There's not going to be any inarguable truths because we're just going to discuss it. We're going to be talking about 2 things as far as witchcraft and witches go. The first is we're going to delve into not only what witches actually were, but what they have become, particularly here in America. The second thing we're going to talk about, is, according to witches, is this idea that Christianity is solely responsible for the condemnation of witchcraft and witches. In other words, witches were just nature worshippers, and Christians came along and unfairly vilified them.
Okay.
We don't have a disclaimer. Moving on to the red flags/findings/sightings. We could do an entire show on whether or not magic and witchcraft are real. The belief in magic, sorcery, and witchcraft goes back thousands of years. Whether you do or not, other people believe in it then, and they still believe in it now. Scientifically speaking, magic does not exist, and neither does witchcraft, but it's not as though science has ever been wrong before, right?
Right.
And if science is correct, and there's no such thing as magic, spells, or witchcraft, then what exactly are all the millions of pagans, witches, and Wicca worldwide practicing today? Just asking. So, moving on.
All witchcraft involves magic, but not all magic is witchcraft. Some believe that witchcraft is a type of magic which frequently involves a deeper connection to nature, herbs, spirits, ancestry, and the lunar cycle. Like any other magic, it is believed by some that witchcraft is not inherently evil. It is the intent on how it is used that can be.
Basically, yeah. Now, we're going to talk about what's called goetia, which is the summoning and controlling of demons to gain knowledge, power, or to affect the physical world. Black magic, or maleficia, is a broad term for magic that uses negative powers or spirits, often for selfish or harmful purposes. Necromancy is traditionally the summoning of the dead, which is sometimes linked with demonic forces that are believed to control or inhabit the spirits of the deceased. Pact/contract magic is entering into formal agreements with demons or dark entities, often exchanging souls or energy for specific supernatural abilities, like shapeshifting, for example. We've talked about that in the past.
Right.
Brujeria/dark arts are various, often cultural, occult traditions that utilize demonic spirits for rituals, sometimes involving animal sacrifices. All of these negative magics are considered witchcraft, and we'll just leave it at that.
There's an Old English word to describe witches that hag is based on, leading to this idea of witches being old, hideous, and scrawny. The green skin of witches was made popular by the original Wizard of Oz. One of the reasons the Wicked Witch was painted green was because green was often associated with poison, jealousy, sickness, and the unwholesome, making it a fitting, unnatural color for an evil character. I wonder why it's green's for jealousy. I always want to look that up every time we talk
I don't know.
that.
But yeah, green with envy. I don't know why it's associated. But isn't that interesting that that's when witches started becoming green?
Yeah.
Was from the original Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, which was 30s? 40s,
Yeah, like the 30s,
that?
late 30s.
That's interesting.
And the thing is that now, if you're a witch for Halloween and you're not green, you're not really a witch.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, in some cultures, witches are believed to use human body parts in magic, and they are commonly believed to murder children for this purpose. The eating of children, as in fairy tales, not to be vulgar or anything, is no doubt tied to this lore or this belief. So,
like the gingerbread, the witch in the gingerbread house.
yeah, Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, Hansel and Gretel. Witches are believed to work in secret, sometimes alone and sometimes with other witches in a coven. Quote, across most of the world, witches have been thought to gather at night, when normal humans are inactive, and also at their most vulnerable in sleep, end quote. In most cultures, witches at these gatherings are thought to rebel against social norms by engaging in cannibalism, incest, group intimacy, and open nudity.
So they get freaky, basically. I mean, not to, be too in depth, but they're out there doing stuff they shouldn't be doing, basically, is what they're saying.
Sinning.
Yeah, sinning. In some parts of the world, it is believed witches can shapeshift into animals, or that the witch's spirit travels apart from their body and takes an animal form, an activity often associated with shamanism. Another widespread belief is that witches have an animal helper. In English, these are often called familiars, and mean that an evil spirit or demon that has taken an animal form to aid the witch, and are sometimes linked to the witch's soul.
Wow.
Witchcraft has been largely sanitized and turned into a commodity, especially around Halloween. We, Tammy and I, agree with this one being okay. Make-believe costumes are fine, or at least they should be, because if we start condemning certain costumes, it's a slippery slope, like pirates, vampires, Vikings, werewolves, etc.
Right, because all of those are
associated with the pirates did terrible things. Vikings pillaged and, so...
Vampires sucked the blood.
Yeah, they're undead, So from the time I was a kid until now, I've just noticed that there's been this gradual softening of what witches are.
Modern portrayals of witches often focus on girl power, transforming the witch from villain into misunderstood heroine, who uses her power to fight for justice. This has been shown in dozens of modern movies and shows like the nose-twitching suburban housewife in Bewitched, or the empowering feminist figure in the chilling adventures of Sabrina.
Advertisers in the 20th century, starting around the 1950s, used witch imagery to sell products, making the figure less terrifying and more titillating or eye-catching. A perfect example of this was in 1981 when Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, started hosting Movie Macabre. I think anybody who was around in the 80s remembers who Elvira was.
Yeah.
But
I did think she was a vampire. I didn't think she was a witch.
There are some that thought she was a vampire, but no, she's a witch.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was she made a movie. They did a movie about her, and she's like trying to cast spells in the movie and trying to help her mom or something. I don't remember. It was a really goofy movie.
I think she's beautiful. I think she's hilarious too. She's got a sense of humor.
Yeah, she was a really good character, but that's a perfect example.
Beautiful,
sultry, witch.
Yeah.
Cleavage from going everywhere, and there she is in her skin tight dress and talking and being all sassy and cool and hip and there you go. That's a perfect example. It's this softening of witches. As the number of practicing witches, Wicca, and pagans has grown, with estimates reaching up to 1.5 million or more in the US alone, the beauty of witches has become popular among millennials and Gen Z, often focusing on trends like tarot, Ouija boards, and crystals, rather than the darker historical connotations of demon worship and pacts with the devil. Could this be the reason for the downplaying of witches and witchcraft? To grow the ranks of people interested? Just asking.
That is very interesting. Because Ouija boards, they were kind of popular when we were kids too, but I don't know.
Yeah, but now it's almost like a hip thing to do.
It is.
Back then we kind of had to sneak around and do it,
Yeah, we did.
And now it's like,
I
guess it's becoming more and more of a pop thing or something. I don't know.
I don't want nothing to do with that.
So let's move on to we should do a show on that, actually.
No, thank you.
Let's move on to the second part of the show's focus. While doing cursory research, I love the chat rooms.
Yes, I do.
I noticed in the chat rooms, there tends to be a blaming of Christianity about the negative views on witches. Which is true. It's true.
Yeah.
There's no argument there. But basically, there were people arguing that the only reason witches and witchcraft were ever viewed as evil was because of the patriarchal Christianity, who used it to demonize women and turn nature magic into something satanic. So I decided to investigate these claims.
Okay.
So, moving on. While not all cultures view witchcraft or magic as necessarily evil, they still tend to condemn it, regard it negatively, or try to dissuade its use out of fear, karma, whatever. One constant about witchcraft in different cultures is what's called the rule of three. This belief, also known as the threefold law, is that any energy, positive or negative, sent out into the world returns to the sender threefold. It acts as a karmic ethical guide for responsibility, encouraging mindfulness when using magic. Another constant is the belief that a witch or sorcerer can take a personal item from a person and use it to curse or harm them. Fingernails, hair clippings, footprints, clothing, etc. Those are personal items. Your jewelry, they can take those and use that against you.
Footprints?
Oh yeah, it's personal. That's your footprint, yeah. Moving on.
Christians, based on the Bible, do strictly condemn witchcraft, sorcery, and related practices like divination and necromancy, viewing them as rebellious against God, an attempt to gain power from demonic sources, and spiritual adultery. The practice of any of these sins leads to exclusion from the eternal life and were punishable by death. So first, let's take a look at how other religions view witches, shall we?
And we shall. And I never heard that term before, spiritual adultery.
Yeah, I've never heard of that either.
I thought that was interesting. But anyway, that's what the Google search busted out with.
Good old Google.
So we'll move on to the next, what other religions think of witchcraft. There's religions out there that we probably forgot. We don't mean disrespect. It's just, this is just what I could find.
Cursory research.
Cursory research, exactly. Muslims speak of Sahira, or Sahir for a man, which is an Arabic term meaning enchantress or magician, and is often used to describe a witch. The practice of seer or witchcraft is evil due to committing forbidden acts or summoning jinn, which is strictly forbidden and considered a major sin in Islam. The widely accepted traditional and scriptural penalty for witchcraft was execution, often by the sword.
Wow.
In Judaism, drawing from the Torah, Talmudic, and Yiddish sources, generally refer to witches as Mekashefa, the female, or the Mekashef, the male, which are terms rooted in sorcery and incantations. Witchcraft, divination, calling up the dead, or necromancy are considered abominations because they seek power or knowledge outside of God, violating strict monotheistic principles. Witchcraft is strictly forbidden in Jewish law. In traditional Jewish belief and biblical law, the punishment for practicing witchcraft was capital punishment, specifically by stoning.
Wow. In Hinduism, a Dayan is a mythological female entity, often regarded as a witch, sorceress, or demon with supernatural powers, including shapeshifting and black magic abilities. Hindus distinguish between the intentional misuse of spiritual energy for either harm or good. Black magic would be considered evil or taboo, and the use of mantras for protection and positive outcomes would be tolerated and accepted. Witchcraft is punishable by fines or purification rites, which are performed on the practitioner. The law of karma, which is believed to cause the practitioner to suffer the same fate they intended for the others, but often magnified, is a more spiritual punishment for practicing black magic rather than a physical or social one. Basically, the rule of three.
That's basically the rule of three. They're saying don't do it because you're going to suffer a fate, whatever you're intending, it's going to come back on you even worse.
Yeah.
That's what they mean magnified.
Yeah.
So it's funny how they all overlap like that belief.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to put that at the beginning because I saw that overlap. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Buddhists do not have a single universal term for witches, as perspectives on it seem to vary. Buddhism generally discourages or forbids formal witchcraft and fortune-telling, viewing them as distractions from the path to enlightenment. Since Buddhism does not believe in a supreme evil entity tempting humans, evil is just viewed as ignorance.
Oh, wow.
But it's still that negative connotation, and there's still that dissuasion that don't mess with that stuff. It's just distractions.
Yeah, it's not going to lead you to the path of enlightenment.
Right. It's still negative, basically. Taoists historically refer to witches, shamans, or sorcerers as Wu, a term for spiritual specialists who bridge the human and spirit worlds through ritual, healing, and divination. Taoism distinguishes between beneficial and harmful practices of witchcraft, basically like the Hindus do.
Yeah.
Beneficial rituals aimed at healing, bringing balance, and protection against disasters or evil spirits are considered positive. Black magic, or what they call poison magic, is a form of harmful sorcery, and even then it is viewed as a complex, specialized, or dangerous practice rather than inherently evil.
So them and the other, what was the other ones that believe in both good and evil then?
Hindus.
Right?
Yeah, the Hindus.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's how you use it is what they're
Right.
saying. It's magic in general, but if you use it for negative things, they're saying that's wrong, don't do it.
Yeah.
But if you use it for good things, that's okay.
Ah, okay.
Moving on. A Bakor is a Haitian voodoo practitioner, often referred to as a witch for hire, who serves the spirits, or Loa, with both hands, practicing both good and evil magic. They are heavily associated with black magic, creating powerful talismans and the legendary creation of zombies. So it is viewed as a neutral practice so long as the Bokor does not harm anyone with poisons or try to create zombies. If they do, the community can turn on them. So again, still viewed as negative even though it's considered,
Yeah. Yeah.
You start doing too evil of stuff, you're going to put yourself in danger.
Right.
Santeria views witchcraft not as an evil inherent force, but as a neutral, specialized, and practical tool used to manipulate energy, neutralize negative magic like curses or jealousy, and solve life's problems, often blending it with spiritual cleansing and the guidance of the Orishas, which are deities. Consequences for practicing black magic or maleficio are believed to be spiritual, resulting in automatic karmic retribution, severe illness, bad luck, or being abandoned by the Orishas. Practitioners fear natural, spiritual consequences, basically the rule of three, more than human-imposed punishments.
In addition to other religions, let's take a look at how some of the more prominent ancient civilizations viewed witchcraft. Some pre-Christian societies, such as Germanic tribes, did penalize witchcraft, sometimes with death, but this was more about the harm caused to the community than a theological heresy. The point is, witches were persecuted prior to Christianity.
Basically. So the ancient Sumerians, who were around 4000 to 1750 BC, viewed evil magic, demons, and curses as tangible present threats responsible for illness, misfortune, and death. They believed in a complex, invisible world of negative spirits like the child-snatching Lamashtu and human witches who used evil words or potions to harm victims. To combat this, they used protection magic, including protective amulets, incantations, and professional exorcist called a shipu. The ancient Shang dynasty, circa 1600 to 1100 BC, had priests and shamans of Wu, or witchcraft, which acted as intermediaries between humanity and the spirit world, using song, dance, and drumming to appease deities. Witchcraft was used to interpret the will of ghosts and gods, often through what was called scapulomancy, which was basically bone reading, and divination rituals. Natural elements like the Yellow River were considered divine, and Wu was employed to manage fear, prevent floods, or stop disasters. Wu practitioners frequently served as doctors, using spells and rituals to drive away diseases believed to be caused by evil spirits. Ku, or black magic, refers to malicious witchcraft intended to injure, cause sickness, or steal wealth, often involving the use of poisonous insects or creatures in a vessel, if you remember that chameleon in a bottle from the intro.
Yeah.
Early Chinese dynasties punished practitioners of Ku with extreme brutality. This involved gruesome public execution methods like torture, dismemberment, or by later periods, having their severed heads impaled on spikes. Moving on. Ancient Egyptians, which were around 3100 to 30 BC, viewed practitioners of evil magic, often considered sorcery or black magic, as dangerous agents of chaos who manipulated Heka, their magic, for harmful, selfish, or anti-divine purposes such as causing illness, infertility, or death by curses or hexes. While Heka was a respected divine tool for protection and healing, in other words, they had their own magic that they used for protection and healing, its misuse was heavily feared and heavily punished by the state, often with death, and believed to eventually cause karmic backlash against the practitioner. There we go with that rule of three again.
Right.
Evil magic was thought to be used by conspirators, jealous individuals, or foreign actors to disrupt the cosmic order, or mocked, basically witches. Practitioners of evil magic used wax dolls, hair, bodily fluids, and stolen secret text to curse victims.
Wow.
So using those use personal items.
Right.
So they're basically, what they're talking about is witches.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the final part of our show. This is the summary.
Okay.
Before the conclusion. This isn't the conclusion. This is the summary. Modern historians, witches, Wicca, and pagans can argue blue in the face that witchcraft is just nature magic. But they can't deny that goetia, the summoning of demons, pact or contract magic, black magic, brujeria, and necromancy are also witchcraft and have been for thousands of years. Clearly, a modern effort has been made to make witchcraft appear a lot more harmless than it actually is. Also, there is clear evidence that the persecution of witches existed long before Christianity was even an idea. So, in my humble opinion, I believe we successfully proved both of our points.
I think we did.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, baby, what do you think about witches?
Well, I kind of.
What are you doing?
I like the Disney-fied witches because I like that little, like, how they play that they're not that evil. But I get that the stuff that they, like, actual witches do and witchcraft is very evil.
It's tied to very
evil,
dark things.
Yeah,
yes.
very dark things. That's a perfect thing to say. Very dark things. But, like, when it's Halloween, I love when everybody dresses like witches.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, we talked about that.
But, okay, so here's my conclusion then. I like the Disney-fied witches theory, but I also understand that witchcraft itself is coming from an evil source.
Right.
So that's my conclusion.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's good.
Oh, okay.
So, my conclusion is the rules of the show state that everyone is entitled to their own opinion and that we're not trying to convince anybody of anything. We stand by that.
Yeah.
So if you want to believe that witches are in tune with nature and were minding their own business, sitting in a field of flowers, bottle feeding baby animals and singing songs with the birds, and here come these evil Christians painting them as in a negative light unfairly, linking them to demons and evil and all that stuff, you're perfectly fine to continue believing that. Just treat what we're saying here, this show, and our findings as a public service announcement from your friends at Paranormal Fable or Fact.
There you go.
And that's all I have to say about it.
There you go. And I like that rule.
What, that we're not trying to convince anybody?
No, I like that rule. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion.
Right.
And that we are not trying to convince anyone or anything.
No, I thought that was very unfair that, they were doing that, and there was so many of them. And they were incensed. Yeah. I mean, they were just convinced, oh no, you can go back hundreds of years. It was all the Christians that labeled the witches as evil. Before that, they were nature, they were pagans. And I'm like, bro, witchcraft has existed for thousands of years. I even put that in a couple of answers, and nobody replied. Yeah. Because I said, look up the ancient Sumerians. Crickets. Look up the ancient Egyptians. Crickets. I mean, you're looking at 3,000, 4,000 years before Christianity, before Christ was even born. Yeah. What do you mean it was Christians that did it? Yeah. Get out of here. Here's a lollipop. Go sit over there in the corner. Don't hurt yourself. But again, if you still want to believe that, hey, perfectly fine. We just wanted to put that out there so that you have an alternative way of looking at stuff.
Right. Well, that's it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for your support. Please go on the YouTube and subscribe. We're also on
Rumble.
So go check us out on Rumble, too. Have a great night. Good night.
Good night, everybody.